Sell More by Screening Good Prospects from Bad Prospects webinar. We are going to talk to you today about how you can maximize your time and avoid wasting time with bad prospects. And the reason why that is so important is because time is limited. There are only so many hours in the day. There's nothing you can do to buy more hours, to add more hours. So it's critical that you decrease the hours that you have to work with, that you decrease those being wasted on bad prospects that have an extremely low probability of buying anything from you. And we'll talk to you today about how exactly to do that. And one thing I want you to start to think about is every decision you make to do something instead of something else, there is an opportunity cost. And so if you're not familiar with the concept of opportunity cost, it basically means when you choose something to do something over something else, there's a cost associated with that, whether you realize that or not. For example, if you choose to work late instead of having dinner with your family, the opportunity cost, there's no financial cost to you, but the cost that you're incurring is that you're missing dinner and family time with your family. Or if you choose to take the afternoon off instead of working, then the cost might be less commissions for that week or less income. So what I want you to do is when you start thinking about meeting with prospects and investing time in the prospects that you've either connected with or started discussions with, I want you to start to think about what is the opportunity cost, or that there actually, what I want you to think about is that there is just an opportunity cost pursuing and investing time with that prospect. And what is that cost? Well, that cost is what you could be doing with other prospects. For example, if you are meeting with one prospect and that means that you won't be able to spend that time meeting with another prospect, then the opportunity cost is what you might have gotten out of the other prospect. Now, if you're meeting with a good prospect and you're choosing that over a bad prospect, then you're making a good decision. But if you're investing time in bad prospects and you're losing out on what could come from better prospects, then there's a negative impact. So what we're going to show you here today will allow you to be more aware of that and to make better decisions. But at the most basic level, in theory, if we decrease the time we spend with bad prospects and thus increase the time we spend with good prospects, we're going to sell more, right? It's not rocket science. It's extremely simple math, but it's not as easy as it seems. It's not as easy to navigate the landscape and to figure out what prospects to pursue. Let's go through that. Why is this not extremely easy, or why can it be a little difficult? Well, if you look at sort of the whole total market of the prospects that you could sell to, the prospects and suspects. Now, the majority of those might be prospects and suspects, might be either individuals or businesses depending on who you sell to, but they might not fit well with what you sell. That's the gray portion of this pie, which is actually the majority of the pie. So when you're out there selling, pretty much the majority of the people, that prospects that you interact with, or the suspects that are maybe on a list of contacts that you purchase, the majority of them probably don't need what you have, can't use it, won't buy it, and they're not able to buy it. Not able to buy it meaning in terms of maybe they're not even in the area of being able to afford what you sell, or not having a funding available. The smaller piece, these are the people that may need it. They may want it, and they possibly could be able to buy it. Now, this is the smaller piece of the pie, and I want you to realize we're not saying these are the prospects that are ready to purchase and that can purchase. These are just the prospects that are in the vicinity of potentially being able to purchase from us. And so what you want to do is you want to know that you want to be able to separate these. And you want to, when you're prospecting, you want to be sure that you're focusing on the slice, the red slice, the smaller slice, and if we kind of simplify the labels, the bigger piece is prospects that don't fit at all. Let me give you an example of one that doesn't fit at all. Let's say you sell a service or a product to businesses, and the only type of company that can use your product or service is a company that has 10 employees or more. Let's say that you reach a prospect and they have 5 employees. Well, they're in the gray. They do not fit with what you have to offer. So there's no point in trying to sell to them because they don't fit at all. So we want to find, and now let's say we come across a company that has 12 employees and they meet some of the other general characteristics. Now we don't know if they are a perfect fit, but we know that because they meet some of the general characteristics, they're in the red. And so this is our first line of determining are these prospects we should screen out or pursue. But if we take that one step further, of the portion that may fit, there are the prospects that do fit, that we determine that there is a fit. And so some of these might be prospects that, yes, they have the right number of employees, they're the right size, they're in the right geographic area. There's potential for a fit. And then we determine that they have the exact problems that we can fix. And that's a big thing there, because if they're a fit from like a geographic demographic standpoint, current environment, but everything is great, then they're in the red and they're in the right quadrant, but there's not a fit because they don't need what we have. Everything's working pretty well. But if they have the problems that you can help to resolve, then there is a fit. And if we take that one step further, there's this thin slice of the blue piece where there is a fit, and it fits now. Because you could determine that a prospect has the problems that you can fix, but maybe they're tied into a contract with a current vendor, which means there's a fit, but not a fit right now. So the fit is in a year when the contract expires. But there is that thin sliver, and that's ultimately what we're looking for. That green sliver there is what we're trying to pursue. Now, when we're trying to pursue that, we can fall into two different traps. One is that we try to sell to everybody. We go out there and we try to sell to the entire pie. Every prospect, and what this looks like is any prospect that answers the phone or that you cross paths with, you try to sell to. Let me give you an example. So let's say we buy a list of contacts that have businesses on it, and remember with the same example, we can only sell to companies that have 10 employees or over. Now this list might not have the number of employees, or the data might be inaccurate, but we call someone and we get them on the phone and we try to schedule a meeting with them, and they take our meeting and we go out and we meet with them. But once we get out there, we realize they only have 5 employees. Well, that's an example of trying to sell to anybody. Tell anybody and everybody. They took our call, we scheduled the appointment, and we're trying to sell, and that prospect is in the gray here. And what happens there is that we wasted time. There was an opportunity cost where we drove across town, we spent a couple hours, we met with them, and that could have been time spent meeting with another prospect. Now you might say, well, I didn't have any other meetings, so I'm going to put every meeting I can on the calendar. So I'm not giving up one meeting for that meeting because I'm light on meetings, and it's just about getting meetings and getting activity. And I will say there are some managers that manage by activity, so you just want to get meetings. But at the end of the day, you could have spent that 2 hours prospecting or doing something else to find to work towards getting meetings with prospects that fit, that aren't in the gray of the don't fit zone here. So the other trap that we can fall into is only focusing on the green. We talk to prospects and we're only out there looking for the ones that fit now. I sell this. Are you looking to buy this? Let me give you an example. On LinkedIn, my title is CEO or owner or whatever. So I get a lot of prospecting emails that come in, and the emails, a lot of them, they basically say something like this: I work for this company, we sell this, are you looking to buy this, right? And now a lot of times I'm never looking to buy what they're selling, or I'm definitely not looking to probably buy it from someone who sends me a cold email on LinkedIn. And we have tips for how to send better emails on LinkedIn. But one important thing here with this example is that, what if I do buy what they're selling from time to time, and their email it basically says, do you need this right now? Whether they use those exact words or not, that's what they're asking. And the reality is that the odds of them sending that email and sending it at the time that I actually need it are really low. I could be in the blue zone of this pie, meaning they're a fit. I potentially buy what they need, but it's not a fit right now. So because they're operating with this only looking for that it fits now type of prospect, they're missing out. Maybe they should be having an approach that includes the blue piece here, or make it bigger to focus on the red also of prospects that just may be a fit and have a different approach. So that's why it's challenging, is that we fall into these traps of selling to the wrong people or having the wrong approach. Now we're going to go through a two-step qualifying process that will help you to screen the good prospects from bad, and screen out the prospects that you shouldn't waste your time on. And qualifying, if you're not really familiar with the term, that's basically what it is. It's screening. It's qualifying the person to see how well or poor of a fit they are with what you have, or how likely they are to purchase. So our process starts with a pre-qualify step. And this is what you would do at the very beginning of the process. This is something you might do if you're phone prospecting, if you're sending cold emails, if you're doing networking. And what you're trying to do, I showed you that pie with the red and the green and the blue. We're only when we're pre-qualifying, all we want to determine is, are they in the gray of the prospect does not fit at all? Do they have above 10 employees or less than 10 employees? Or are they in the red where there could potentially be a fit? Because what this step will do is this will eliminate you wasting your time talking to prospects that you should have no business spending time with. And we're not trying to determine, are they going to buy, or can they buy, or whatever. We're trying to determine, does it even make sense for us to keep talking? And so the way we'll do this is we'll ask pre-qualifying questions. And so I'm going to go back to a slide I've shown on other webinars. If you've attended our other webinars, you may have seen this before. But this takes place at the very first contact. Like I said, it could be your cold call, it could be an email, it could be at an event. But at this stage, we're going to try to pre-qualify. And our goal at this stage is just to get to the next stage, which might be establishing a real conversation, an appointment, or a meeting. And so all we're trying to do is we're trying to qualify them enough to see if it makes sense for us to spend our valuable time with them in the next step. If I'm going to schedule an appointment with you, and that means I'm going to, well, for one, if it's a 30-minute meeting, then that's 30 minutes on my calendar, and also time to go travel there and travel back. And so if I'm going to spend 1 to 2 hours on you, I want to make sure that you're worth my time. And so it's the pre-qualifying questions that will determine that. So let me, these questions basically, I want to determine, do you have a need for what I provide? Or is this something you might even want? Could you potentially have the ability to purchase it, and whatnot? So let me give you some examples of pre-qualifying questions. And a lot of this is applying to business sales or whatnot. But if we were a car salesperson, I can tell you car salespeople never do this, but they probably should. Picture yourself walking into a car dealership. Some good pre-qualifying questions might be, hey, what year is your current vehicle? I see you're looking at this car. What kind of car do you currently drive? How old is it? How happy are you with your current car? If I go back to the what year is your current vehicle, now that's a good pre-qualifying question, because what if the answer that the prospect says is, I got it 6 months ago, right? Then that's not a really good prospect. Because who buys cars every 6 months? I mean, maybe they are looking for a new car, but it's an interesting piece of information. How happy are you with your current car? How do you feel about your fuel economy? How do you feel about the reliability of your car? How often do you usually purchase a new car? So these are questions just to determine if I'm the salesperson, if I should continue to talk to this prospect. Now, you might say, well, why would you just show them the car if you're a car salesperson? But think about it. Think about it if it's a Sunday afternoon and the car dealership is packed. If I'm going to continue to talk to this person and take them on a test drive, there's an opportunity cost there. I'm making a commitment, and I'm going to be sacrifice time spent with these other prospects. So I want to feel them out, because you know what? It could be that they're waiting for, it's a guy waiting for his wife to get her hair done, and he's just kicking tires, right? And if I don't really vet him, because he might say that after he says his car is 6 months old, I might say, oh, okay, well, that's a pretty new car. You're looking to replace that? Oh no, I'm just killing time, and then you could leave it with, okay, well, have a look around. If you want to take a test drive, let me know. Or if you have any questions, and then you go move on to a better prospect. So you can do the same thing in the business world, where you can ask these questions and identify real quickly if it makes sense to continue. The other thing about qualifying questions is that they can help you with objections. And so when you're prospecting, you're going to run into objections a lot. Objections like, I'm not interested, we already use somebody, we can't make any changes right now. Let's look at the objection of we can't change anything right now. Now, with that objection, does that mean that they're in the gray of does not fit, or are they in the red of there may be a fit? If they can't change anything right now, that means what we know for sure is that they're not in that green sliver of fits now. So okay, but that's fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, again, they're in the gray. They could be, but what you can do to fully identify when a prospect's giving you an objection, if they're in the red or they're in the gray, is to ask them your pre-qualifying questions. By the way, your pre-qualifying questions are great responses to get around objections. Someone says we can't change anything right now. Oh yeah, I understand. And listen, I'm not trying to sign you up right now. But if I could ask you real quick, are you guys currently using anything for blah blah blah? Oh yeah, we're using this. Okay, how long have you been doing that? Oh, we started that last June. Okay. Is there anything that you like or don't like about that? So there we got away from that objection. So just keep in mind that the qualifying process and pre-qualifying questions are great for objections. That's step one. So what you want to do there is you want to think about what pre-qualifying questions fit well with the product that you sell. If you want some help with that, or you're kind of drawing a blank there, we at SalesScripter can help you with that. Our software can help you to develop the best list of pre-qualifying questions for all the different products you sell, and according to the different prospects that you sell to. If you really want to get sophisticated, your pre-qualifying questions could actually change when you go from one buyer to another. The product could actually stay the exact same, but when you go from selling from a VP of Finance to a VP of Operations, the pre-qualifying questions could be different. How important is it for you? And then there's a financial related question for a VP of Finance, and operations might be a very operational process type of pre-qualifying question. So that would be a really big step. If you're not doing that, or you don't have your pre-qualifying questions, if you just get that list together, you'll take a huge step forward. But the next step in the process is to hard qualify. So at this point, we're a little bit further in the sales process, because at this point we're really trying to determine, is this prospect for real? Because this is where our goal is to determine how much time are we going to invest in this prospect? Is this prospect really going to purchase from us? Let me give you an example. So let's say you get an unsolicited RFP, request for proposal, and it is awesome what they're asking for. I mean, if you close this deal, you're going to make a ton of money, right? And it's such a big deal that if you follow the the proposal and respond to it, then you're going to make a ton of money, but that's going to take a lot of time to respond to that proposal. So, if you just respond to it without a lot of information, you might get excited. You might invest days putting a proposal together, and that's an opportunity cost, right? That's taking days away from finding prospects. And but the thing is that if you were to engage with that prospect, which is this is sometimes difficult with an unsolicited RFP, which could give you a clue. It's difficult to get more information, but if you were to ask that prospect, you might find out that they've already been talking to another company for 3 to 6 months, and then they're sending you this RFP, and they're at the 11th hour. That means you don't stand a very good chance of winning the RFP, and so if you spend a week away from selling, working on a proposal that you have a very little chance of winning, then you're spending a lot of opportunity. You're having a high opportunity cost for a low probability win, even knowing the payoff would be huge. So that might be a bad decision. Now, it's not to say that you don't reply to the proposal or submit a proposal, but if you have this knowledge, what you can do is you can protect your time. So instead of spending a week putting together the perfect proposal, what you can do is kind of phone it in, right? Either put together a boilerplate proposal, put something together, maybe spend a few hours on it, and then send it over and not really worry too much. Who knows, and see what happens. So it's having that additional information that allows you to make better decisions, and again, screen the good prospects from bad. Now, the way that you hard qualify, again, it's asking hard qualifying questions, and let me show you. The first thing to point out is that we don't do this at the very beginning of the sales process. So we don't hard qualify in a cold call. Like, for example, an important thing to know about a prospect might be if they have budget to spend in the area that you're talking to them about, right? But you don't need to determine if there's budget to spend when you're at the very first stage. At the very first stage, you're just trying to determine, are they in the red quadrant of the pie, right? So we don't need to know about budget. We just kind of need to know, okay, maybe what role the person is in, and do they generally need what we have? But once you get to that next stage, which could be a meeting, it could be an appointment, it could be a presentation, that's where we can further qualify and ask some of our hard qualifying questions. So that's where you do it in the process. But so what you're trying to do is you're trying to determine, is the prospect qualified, meaning I can spend more time invested in this prospect, and they have a higher probability of purchasing, or is it and by the way, also with a qualified prospect, you can have more confidence forecasting this opportunity in your pipeline. If you're a salesperson, you have to have report what deals are going to close. If you forecast and commit a deal, and then that gets into the company's forecast for the quarter, for the year, and then that deal doesn't hit, you look bad, your managers look bad. It becomes a very stressful situation. It's not good. You never know what happens with you. You never ultimately know when a deal's going to close until it's signed, but you can have more confidence forecasting deals the more qualified they are. So this process will give you a lot more confidence knowing which deals to really lock in as committed and when to be cautious. You might put a deal into your forecast as upside, meaning it could close, might not, and so this will help you to know which to do there. And part of that is knowing whether the prospect is truly qualified or unqualified. So on the left side of this screen, you see qualified. So they have to have a medium to strong classification in all of these categories. A need to purchase, meaning they need what you have. You're dealing with the people that have the authority to purchase, meaning you're not selling at a manager level and it's really a VP level that signs the deal and the VP is not even involved. They have the ability to purchase, meaning there's some sort of funding allocated or approved or available to access. And they have the genuine intent to purchase. Intent meaning the intent to purchase from you, the genuine intent to purchase from you. Now, remember, I just gave you the example of the RFP. Now, if a company does an RFP, they have a genuine intent to purchase. But if they've been working with, let's say they've been working with another vendor for 6 months, and that other vendor actually helped them to put the RFP together, and then they send you the RFP and don't even want to talk to you about it, then they have the intent to purchase, but not the intent to purchase from you. So we need to be good in all 4 of those areas. Now, if they're not good in one of those areas, in terms of on the right side of the screen, a caution in any of those areas makes it an unqualified prospect. Meaning, they can be good in 3 of the 4, but just one makes it bad. And let me show you. So there's 4 types of basically unqualified prospects, and you don't need to memorize this perfectly, but if you kind of take some of this with you and keep some of this in mind when you're talking to prospects, you'll be able to screen better. But there's the prospect that has there's the no need to purchase prospect, which means you're dealing with the right person. Let's say you're talking to the VP. They have the funding to make a purchase. You're the only one they're talking to. They're not talking to any other companies. But at the end of the day, their current system, it's not too bad. Meaning they love what you sell. They think it's really great. But what they have is not too bad. So you might get meetings and have some good discussion going, but when they see that dollar figure and it's time to purchase, the deal can stall out. They don't genuinely have the pain points that you fix. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why it's really good for you to ask probing, qualifying questions that determine a true need. There's also the prospect that has the no authority to purchase. So let's say that things are failing, you can fix them, there's a need to purchase. They have the money to spend, everything's great. You're the only vendor they're talking to. They intend, if they're going to purchase, they're going to purchase from you. But again, you're dealing with a manager, and it's not the right person that is actually going to sign the deal. So you can't, and this manager saying, oh yeah, we're going to purchase. But if if you're not dealing with the person that signs the deal, and maybe the VP signs the deal, but and you don't have to interact with the VP and they be your main point of contact, but the VP has to be involved, or at least aware of what the discussions are, and maybe sponsor what you're working on. Moving on to the next one, there's 2 more. The no ability to purchase prospect. Now this could get confusing with the funding when we say ability, but the authority. This can get confusing with authority, but it's more ability, meaning the money. So someone could have the authority. So you're dealing with a VP or the owner, but at the end of the day, they just don't have the money. The budget's already been spent for the year. So that's another one to look for. And the last unqualified prospect to look out for is the no intent. And I gave you an example of that. Everything's great. They need something. They have money to spend. All the right people are involved. But at the end of the day, they don't intend to purchase from you. And so that's often because they're talking to other companies and they're just kind of they're wanting to get, sometimes they might get your pricing so they can use that as a negotiation tactic against the company that they want to purchase from. So those are 4 characteristics. Again, you don't need to memorize those and know exactly when you're talking to someone, oh, this is that such and such unqualified prospect. But you should know to kind of look in for those 4 key areas, and we just went through those. But so if you might say, okay, well, I get that. Here are exact questions that you can ask, and these can be the same regardless of what you sell. Now, the thing is, with your pre-qualifying questions, the pre-qualifying questions, if I'm going back to the step 1, those are different for you from other people that sell other products. They're unique to you, and they can be different for you, for the different people different that you sell to. The hard qualifying questions are kind of the same regardless of who you sell to. So you could use these exactly. And in fact, these questions are all provided inside a sales scripter as a hard qualifying questions tool. Actually, I believe if you when you signed up for this, you got a hard qualifying question document. So you should have most of these. I believe they're all the same. But questions to ask if there's a need, if the prospect genuinely has a need to purchase what you sell. There's a big difference between wanting what you sell and then truly needing. It's like, just about everybody would like to have a new car, but they don't really get to the point to pull the trigger on a new car purchase until there's something going on. Their lease is expiring, the car's breaking down, it smells. If things are okay but they could be better, that becomes more of a want than a need. So the goal here is to determine if there's truly a need. So some questions to ask are, hey, what happens if you don't do anything or don't make this purchase? What does that look like? Because somebody could say, hey, this is great. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, well, I get it that you love it. But if you and I were to never talk again and you were just to keep using what you're using, what does that look like? Is that bad? Is that painful? Or is that kind of okay? So there's some other questions here. And you could also, there's some date questions. Is there a particular date that you need to do something by? So when you ask these questions to really truly qualify, you want to assess their answers, and there might not be exact answers that you're looking for, but you want to kind of get a feeling, are the responses you're getting really strong, which means there's a negative impact if the prospect doesn't do anything, or is it kind of medium, meaning it would be decent, it would be cool, or is it weak, which means things are okay. They would like to purchase from you, but things are okay if they don't. If it's weak, then your prospect might be cautionable, or you might be concerned in the need to purchase category. Authority to purchase. So now we're trying to figure out how much authority does the person that we sell to have. Now, so you may hear the word decision maker, right? Are you dealing with the ultimate decision maker? And I'll tell you, this can be a difficult thing to sometimes ask about, because you don't want to just come out and say, hey, okay, well, are you the decision maker? And you don't want to ask that for a couple reasons. One is it can make the person defensive. It puts the person on the spot. You don't want to ask that also because the prospect may think that they are the decision maker. They're a mid-level manager, and they think, they don't know what you're talking about, and they think, yeah, I'm the one that makes the decision, when the reality is that they're not the person that actually gets the money, signs the deal, whatever. So you don't want to necessarily say, hey, are you the person that makes the decision? Here are some questions that you can actually say that are more diplomatic and also get you the more accurate information than what you need. What's the decision-making process? So if we say, let's do this, what does that look like? And go through each step. If you go through each step with the prospect to where the money and contract are signed or the deal is done, you're going to learn and see exactly who the decision maker is. What parties need to be involved in the decision. So there's some other questions there. To assess the feedback, if the prospect you're dealing with is the person that approves the decision, that's very strong. If the prospect makes the decision but has to get approval from someone else, it's a bit medium. And if the prospect does not make the final decision at all or is not involved, it's weak. Questions to ask to see if the prospect has the ability to purchase. Now, this can also be something that's difficult to find out. And remember, we're trying to figure out, is this deal for real? This is trying to protect us from spending good, valuable time with bad prospects. By the way, what does this look like if we don't ask these questions? This is where if you run into these situations where you end up sending a proposal out or a quote, you give a demo, you might travel for a meeting, jump on a plane, and when you don't ask these questions, your prospect may go in the dark. And you thought it was a deal that was going to close. You forecasted it with your manager, and you spend a lot of time following up with this prospect, calling them and emailing them, and you don't know why the prospect is not returning your call and whatever, and you have nothing to say to your manager, and the reason why is because they weren't qualified. And you did not know that, or you don't know that at this moment, and you don't know why because you didn't ask these questions. But to figure out if the prospect has the money to spend, again, instead of saying, you don't want to come out and say, hey, well, do you have the money for this, or how much do you have available to spend on this? Those are difficult questions to ask, and not the right questions to ask, because it puts the prospect on the defense. Here's some diplomatic ways to get the key information you need to know. Is there a budget approved for this project? What is the budget range that this project needs to stay within? That's a great question, and it kind of takes a place of how much were you looking to spend for this. They don't want to answer that because they think that's going to impact the proposal that you give them. They don't want to. But if you ask them about a range, most of the time they're going to say, oh, they'll throw out some number. So part of the asking of these questions is being very direct. Don't tiptoe around, and if they're on to you, they don't have to answer these. So if they say, I'd rather not share that, no big deal. You're not going to get in trouble or ruin any rapport that you have with the prospect by just asking good questions. If anything, you might get a little respect from the prospect, which could help to build your relationship. But again, once you get the answers from these questions, you want to kind of assess them. So if the funds are available and they're approved and allocated, you're strong in this area, you can check this box. If the funds are available but they need to be approved, the company has money to spend, but it's just you kind of have to go through a committee or something, kind of medium. And if the funds just aren't available and it's not really clear where they will come from, you need to be careful. And the last category is the intent to purchase. This is probably one that is real easy for us to kind of forget about or to not want to do. And again, we're talking about the genuine intent to purchase from you. And what this comes down to is kind of like where are they at with talking with other people. You want to get a feeling for where the prospect stands. I mean, are you the only company they're talking to, or are there other options that they're pursuing? What other companies are you thinking about purchasing from? If they say, oh yeah, well we have looked at such and such product. Okay, yeah, great. Well, how far along are you talking with them? That's a really good question, right? So if they've been talking to you for 3 months, but they just called the other guys 2 weeks ago, well, that's pretty good. If it's vice versa, that's not so good. So you can get some really good information from them where they're at with the other competition. If they're not looking at anybody, let's see, I've jumped ahead there. So then you want to assess sort of the feedback you're getting from these questions that you're asking. If the prospect is serious about making a purchase and they're only talking with you, you're very strong. You're good in this category. You can check this box. If they're medium, if the prospect is talking to other vendors but is favorable to your company, right? So you can easily say, well, what do you think about their solution? How does it compare to ours? Is there anything that you think ours does better than theirs? I mean, those are fair questions to ask. I've been in situations where I found out a prospect was talking to my direct, most fierce competitor, and I asked them, well, what kind of pricing are they offering you? Well, what are you looking at? That prospect sent me over the proposal of my competitor. And part of it was having good rapport, part of it was asking the right questions, and part of it was just being direct. I mean, if I were to tiptoe around, well, do you think you could possibly share with me some other pricing? The prospect's going to feel like they're doing something wrong, and they're going to say, then they're going to say, that probably wouldn't be appropriate. But if you're really direct and deliver in this way and say something like, oh yeah, so okay, so what did they propose you? I'm just curious, what kind of pricing did they offer you? And I mean, you'd be surprised if you're just really direct, you might get a very direct answer. So, and then the prospect might be really weak in the area with an intent to purchase from you. If they're talking with they're looking at a lot of other options, they're very favorable to those. They've been talking with them for a long time. So you want to be concerned. So the key takeaway there is we went through four areas, right? The need to purchase. Do they genuinely need what you have to offer? Do they have the authority to purchase? The authority to say yes to get the deal done? The ability to purchase? Do they have the money? And the intent to purchase. Are they really serious about doing business with you? So if you're good in those four areas, those are the types of deals that you can invest a lot of time with. Jump on a plane for. Spend a week on a proposal. Put into your sales forecast. So those are some quick tips for you to take in order for you to be able to screen your good prospects from bad. And if you implement really any of that, you're going to probably make better decisions about how you manage your time and the prospects you pursue. So if you want more help, there's something that we actually just started offering recently, which is group sales coaching. So we've been offering sales coaching in fact, we recently crossed our 6-year anniversary, and the very first product that we offered was sales coaching. So we've been doing sales coaching from the very beginning of our company, but we just started doing group sales coaching, which basically what it is you're in a group of about 7. You meet once a week and it's about an hour to an hour and a half, because what we do is we spend about 10 minutes on each person and we talk about a topic or question that they bring with them or want to talk about. And then we, at the end of that, we open it up for everybody to exchange ideas and feedback. But it runs about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes typically, and we cover all these areas. So if you have some small takeaways from today, then you'll get the same kind of tips on one of those calls. It's $100 a month, so it's extremely economical. We'll probably raise that price actually down the road, so you might want to get in at the lower price, but it really only comes out to about $20 to $25 a week. And so just contact us if you're interested. The thing that I like about group coaching is that a lot of salespeople probably don't want to spend the money on one-on-one coaching because it's a little bit more expensive. This is a real economical way. The other thing that's really neat about this is that there's a synergy that comes out of working together as a group, because the other salespeople and participants ask questions, and you can sit back and they might be questions that you didn't think of. And so a lot of the takeaways come from the time in the session that you're not actually even talking about your question, it's not even your portion of the meeting. And it's a great stepping stone. If you've ever thought about sales coaching, it's a way for you to see that spending time with a coach or an activity like that and investing the time and the money can have a positive return on your performance. It's a great stepping stone. Sometimes people stick their foot in the water with this and then they progress to one-on-one coaching. But if you want more help but you're not ready to take that step, there's a few free steps that you can take from getting help from us and from me, and that is go to our YouTube channel, and there's over 130 videos on there. All of our webinars are posted on there. This webinar will be posted on there, and it's all free. So check that out. There's a playlist called Sales Prospecting 101 Training Program. You might want to check that one out and go through those videos in order, as well as our webinar playlist as well. If you haven't seen any of them, check out our ebooks. You can get them off salescriptor.com for free. They're free for free. And there's one on cold calling, objections, all sorts of different stuff. We have a paperback book on Amazon that's not free, but if you like the ebooks, the paperback goes into, it's about 218 pages, so it goes into more detail on all the different topics. The thing I like about the paperback book is I download a lot of ebooks, and if you're like me, they end up in my email, they end up on my hard drive, and I never really go back to reading them. Whereas if I have a paperback book, it sits on my desk, I take it to the coffee shop, and I read those more. So that's the nice thing about the paperback book, which is the cold calling equation, problem solved. And there's a chapter, by the way, on qualifying. Everything we talked about here today is detailed in that book. If that's a way that you like to learn. We have a full training program. It's designed to basically be spread across 4 weeks. All these modules are on YouTube, so you could go through this training program. We actually have customers that use this as their employee onboarding, and so the what we went through today is actually a module in one of the weeks. Week 2, a 2-step qualifying program. So you go through this training program in order. You basically watch about a video a day and spread it out across 4 weeks. The order of the videos and the spreading out there's been a lot of logic put into that in terms of what to watch and when, and to spread it out so that you can really absorb and retain the most of it. You could check out Sales Scripter. So I don't know if you're familiar with Sales Scripter, but it's a piece of software, a sales tool that will help you to develop your optimum list of pre-qualifying questions. So it kind of takes you through, the software will interview you and take you through a workflow. There's a slide here I'll show you, but I'll get back to Sales Scripter in a second. Again, you can contact us for coaching, consulting, or sales training. But what Sales Scripter does is it basically will, these slides got out of order, but the software will basically interview you. So it kind of takes you through a workflow to identify, okay, what do you sell? How does it help from a benefit standpoint? What problems do those benefits help to fix? And then what questions should you ask to see if those problems exist? That last fourth blank there, that's your pre-qualifying question. A lot of your pre-qualifying questions should be to determine, does the prospect have some of the characteristics of that you can help with. So once you've basically answered all that information, you can then plug it into the software. Basically creates a lot of documents from all that, like call scripts, email templates, voicemail scripts, objections, response. We put all that information into what we call an interactive script, which is basically an interface that you can use when you're making phone prospecting calls that have exactly what you need to say next, your list of questions, your list of pain points, your objection responses, your voicemail scripts. So that's pretty much it.